The Suicide Squad is the newest DCEU movie that is now out in theaters and on HBO Max. It is directed by James Gunn and features Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, Daniela, Melchior, David Dastmalchian, and Viola Davis. Supervillains Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, and a collection of nutty cons at Belle Reve Prison join the super secret, super shady Task Force X, as they are dropped off at the remote enemy-infused island of Corto Maltese in hopes to destroy something only known as Project Starfish. Now guys, before I give you my review of the Suicide Squad, I want to see what you guys have to say about this new DCEU movie down in the comment section below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you somewhere right in the middle? Please comment down below, let me know. Now before I get into my review, I do want to mention the fact that I did rewatch the original Suicide Squad movie last night, and while I don't love it, I don't hate it nearly as much as I used to. I do see where there are the problems that lie within and everything, but I think if you had it on in the background, you can watch it, and I really do feel for David Ayer for not being able to make his full vision. At the same time, I feel I do need to mention the fact that I was meant to see this movie a couple days ago at the Brisbane premiere sort of press screening for the Suicide Squad, but due to the current lockdown that we are experiencing here in Brisbane, of which got extended on Monday afternoon, I was unable to see it Tuesday night at the screening. For this reason, I ended up using my VPN that I have, NordVPN, and a mate of mine ended up loaning me his HBO Max account, so I have watched this movie on HBO Max, even though I do live in Australia, and I feel it is only fair that I mention it to you guys out of respect for not just you, but all the other people who are unable to see the movie as of this moment in time. But this doesn't take away the fact that I will be still supporting the movie, and I said it even in my reaction video, which will be coming out soon, that whether I like the movie, whether I don't like the movie, I am going to support it financially, whether it's in theaters or on DVD and Blu-ray or both. For the reason of, I really do believe in supporting my local theater chain and the movie financially, not just watching it on HBO Max. Because I took advantage of that due to the lockdown situation, and I really, honestly, didn't even want to do it initially, but due to the release in the US and everything, and spoilers starting to hit Twitter, I was like, no, I'm gonna watch it and everything, because I just wanted to avoid that. And just to let you guys know I'm serious about this, I did the same thing a couple months ago for Tom and Jerry, a movie of which I ended up giving a D-. It's one of my least favorite movies of the entire year. I ended up using a VPN to watch it on HBO Max, borrowing my mate's HBO Max account when it released. To support it, I ended up buying the Blu-ray, because I watched it on HBO Max. I didn't like this movie at all. But to support the filmmakers and everything and the art of filmmaking, I still went out and bought a copy the moment it was released on Blu-ray. So I'm still going to support the Suicide Squad even though I did do this. But enough of that, just letting you guys know out of respect and everything, let's get into the review. The Suicide Squad was a movie that I was very, very excited for, but very reserved on, because I looked at these trailers and I looked at the trailers for the old Suicide Squad movie, and I got very similar vibes in regards to the more high-octane, upbeat sort of stuff in regards to like the music video type trailers, trying to edit it together and make it look all big, grand, and epic and everything. Then I remembered the result of the first Suicide Squad movie. Again, I rewatched it last night. I don't really hate it that much. It is low tier DCEU, but I don't hate it. So I still went in with a few reservations. While very excited, I still went in with lowered expectations, which I think might be a reason to why I was pleasantly surprised by this movie and why I loved it so much. The Suicide Squad is quite possibly one of my favorite DCEU movies, easily in the top 3, and that's because James Gunn brilliantly realized what these characters were and how to make this movie so self-aware. This movie feels like comic book panels leaping off of the page onto the big screen. Whether that's through the action sequences, whether it's through a lot of the corny, cheesy dialogue, of which is very self-realized and very self-aware, that it really plays towards the strengths of what makes a comic book so much fun and so ridiculous, but also so grounded at the exact same time. James Gunn was given full creative freedom, and I think that's absolutely brilliant. I love his vision for this movie, and I think for the most part, it turned out really, really well. For the most part, I loved all the characters. As they said in the marketing, you could love any one of these characters, you could hate any one of these characters. It could go either way. You'll be rooting for certain characters to survive, and you'll be rooting for other characters to die. There are characters in this movie that I did not expect myself to root for and to want to survive. I was there the entire time going, don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die. And in the end, when some of them did eventually die, I was like, holy fuck. Like, I was gutted. I cared about these characters, and that's because the movie doesn't, you know, waste your time about the whole thing of like the chip in the back of the neck, here's the mission, this is what you need to do, blah, blah, blah. They fully realize the fact that we are watching this movie and we've probably seen David Ayer's movie. So therefore, it doesn't waste our time giving us the rundown all over again. It trusts the audience to more or less put the pieces together themselves and to know what's kind of going on. And I love that. It makes you a very brisk, fast-paced movie that doesn't waste any time whatsoever, whether it's with the narrative or the characters. The characters have the bare bone minimum at times amount of development to make you care about them. There are small moments with each of these characters that actually make them very heartfelt. A standout for me in particular was Daniela Melchior as Ratcatcher 2. She was absolutely phenomenal in this movie. I didn't expect myself to love Ratcatcher 2 the way I loved Ratcatcher 2. She honestly was pulling at the heartstrings multiple moments, especially with a brilliant moment that is sort of, it is a flashback sequence in the third act, but it really made me love the character all the more. There is a sweet little bond that is built between her and Bloodsport, played by Idris Elba as well. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. Even simple things such as, like, you know, Bloodsport never wanted to be a father, and then all this stuff with his daughters going on, the moral blackmail, that he's this really gritty, grumpy guy, but he does have a heart. And that is proven through his interactions with his daughter very briefly, as well as Ratcatcher 2. He's always looking out for these characters. His interactions with Rick Flag as well is amazing. I didn't expect myself to love Bloodsport as much as I love Bloodsport. Same thing with Polka Dot Man. Polka Dot Man was in this. And when I heard Polka Dot Man was in this, honestly, I just jumped for fucking joy. And David Dastmalchian does a great job in the role as well. And again, the bare bone minimum amount of development to his character is provided, but necessarily so to make us care about him, to give a heart-pulling character with really emotional moments, while also not giving us too much for each of these characters that we don't get too attached. It says it in the marketing, don't get too attached. And I think the way that they've written this movie in regards to character development, whether it's too much, too little, bare bone, minimum, enough to make us care about them for the emotional moments in particular, I think it does it in a way that is so brilliant to make us care about them enough that when they die, it's a shocker to us and we were like, what the fuck? No. But it's like that thing in the trailer and the marketing as well. You could love any one of these characters. You could hate any one of them due to their actions and everything. These are bad guys. I ended up loving Peacemaker throughout most of the movie, but by the ending of the movie, I fucking despised him, but in the best way possible. And King Shark, can I just mention that? Stallone. Like, Sly himself. He's playing King Shark, Nanawe. I want him to be my friend. Also, the action sequences in this movie are absolutely explosive. They're fun, they're fast-paced, they're edited brilliantly with James Gunn's direction oozing off of the screen with brilliant cinematography and visuals, but also the gory violence in this movie that people are talking about. I didn't expect it to be this violent. Like that shot in the trailer of King Shark basically ripping a guy in half, that is nothing compared to a lot of the shit that we get in this movie. After the opening sequence and the opening scene of this movie, I knew what I was in for in regards to action and violence, and while it is epic, while it is grand and fun, it is very, very violent at times, and you know what? As a gorehound, I kind of fucking loved it. The script and the comedy, the script is exactly what you'd expect in regards to a comic book movie, in regards to the cheesy, campy sort of dialogue at times, but the jokes, they land more than they don't. Therefore, it is, as I can say confidently, a very, very funny and worthwhile movie to go to if you just want a good laugh as well. Again, the narrative is very emotional. It has a lot of depth at times, and while the narrative at times, I will admit, is very underdeveloped, very bare bone, and I think it could have had a little bit more development, especially with stuff such as the villain in particular, like the big villain for the big climax. Didn't get enough of him, and considering I love this villain, if you don't know who he is from the trailers or anything, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but this villain is something I've wanted to see on the big screen for a long fucking time, especially with abilities and capabilities that you could utilize with this character. But I loved what I saw of this character, this big fucking villain, but at the same time, I don't feel like we got enough of it. Like, there are so many ways that you could take this, and there are so many things you could do, especially incorporating this villain and stuff they can do to the Suicide Squad, and little complications between them and their relationships, I think was a very missed opportunity. But I can't say I was disappointed. I just wish I wanted more of this villain. I really do. And the same goes for a lot of the narrative. I do think that Viola Davis, once again as well, is incredible as Amanda Waller. Can I just mention as well that I think that her preparation for the role of Amanda Waller was her involvement in How to Get Away with Murder as Annalise Keating. Like, those two characters are so fucking similar. I honestly, when I watched the movie, I'm not even gonna lie, I was just like, oh, it's Annalise Keating. Oh, wait, no, sorry, it's Amanda Waller. But Viola Davis and Idris Elba in particular are fucking standouts in this movie, especially when they're on screen together or in their own sequences. Every single time, they steal the fucking scene. Viola Davis in particular is an incredible fucking actress, and in this movie, she steals the scene. She owns the room whenever she is on screen. But this wouldn't be a review without my negatives, and I do unfortunately have some for the Suicide Squad. I don't love what they did with Harley. Harley Quinn kind of is missing a lot of this movie. She's not in it as much as I thought she would be. She has this like really boring, elongated section, which I know a lot of people are going to hate me for, but I'm going to compare it to the Canto Bight sequence in The Last Jedi, a movie I really fucking love. But that sequence in the middle with Rose and Finn kind of detracts from the rest of the movie and the pacing. Harley Quinn with this sort of thing that she goes on and everything with this other guy and like this, I'm gonna say political thing, I don't know. It's just like sidetracking away from the stuff with the Suicide Squad itself. And it feels very much so like it's detached from the rest of the movie. It feels like a separate film. And it's very boring, very tacked on. It feels about the same length as the Canto Bight sequence, in my opinion, in The Last Jedi. And it feels the same tonally. It feels the same pacing-wise. And it feels the same in regards to its involvement. It is inconsequential and really has no purpose to be in the film. Therefore, I can say that the second act of this movie in particular is incredibly slow and does detract a lot of the pacing, of which was very smooth, very brisk a lot of the time in the first and third act. I love those acts, but the second act, especially due to the stuff that they do with Harley, I just wasn't a fan. It was very boring at times and just detracted itself in regards to the pacing overall. And not only that, whenever Harley's not on screen, I kind of forgot she was in this movie, and when she showed up, I was like, oh shit, Harley Quinn's in this movie. I kind of forgot. But that's also a positive towards how good the other characters are, that I didn't need Harley Quinn. But for this reason, in the second act as well, I did by the end feel like this movie was really dragged on and felt at about, I'd say, 5-10 minutes too long. And also Sol Soria and the Freedom Fighters. Absolutely fucking useless. Absolutely no involvement in this movie besides maybe 4 scenes. Just an entire subplot I felt could have been removed and once again detracted from the pacing whenever they were on screen. But overall, I really love the Suicide Squad. This is a fantastic movie, from action to gore to bringing a comic book to life. This is the most comic book movie I've ever seen. It feels like comic book panels have leaped off the page onto the screen, and it's brilliant. I love the characters. It's surprisingly emotional. Although I didn't get enough of the villain, I still liked it for the most part. It's a fun, explosive, energetic movie that I just felt an adrenaline rush for. It's very funny, and now I have to thank this movie, because now everyone who sees this movie will know what John Cena's penis outline looks like through tidy whities. I didn't need to see that. I'm gonna give the Suicide Squad an A-. But guys, what did you think of the Suicide Squad? I want to see what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. Once again, even though I did watch this on HBO Max, even though I am in Australia, I will be supporting the movie by going out to see it in theaters as soon as lockdown is over and the moment we're able to go out again. And the same thing in regards to buying it on Blu-ray to support the film. This is exactly what I did for Tom and Jerry. I didn't like Tom and Jerry, but I still bought the Blu-ray and I still went out and saw it in theaters after HBO Max when it was released, and I was able to go outside and fucking see it. I'm going to do the same thing to support my local theater chain and the movie overall. But guys, thank you so much for joining once again, and thank you so much for watching. I want to see what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you somewhere right in the middle? Just comment down below. Let me know. Do be sure to also follow the social medias at Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and Twitch to watch my live streams and keep updated future content coming to the channel. Do be sure to click the subscribe button and the bell to get notified when new videos are up every single week. Do be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.